to the old share out on Twitter. Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
Share. Twitter. PTM 269 is live.
269. This is 287, isn't it?
What's that?
Have I been tweeting the wrong thing all day?
Have you?
I may have been. Oh, crap.
287. We skipped like 20 episodes.
No, that's where my brain's at these days.
I hear you, man.
Oh, you know what it is I got on the brain? It's that, yeah, you're right, 269. Holy crap. How did I messed that up royally. Oops.
Well, yeah. Matt the Benedetto fan. Happy Thanksgiving Eve as well. Yeah, I took tomorrow off. I will be cooking most of the day and probably still doing some work because, work. But at least I don't have any responsibilities because I've got the day off. What's up, Brandon? Happy Yard Bird.
Granddaddy Yard Bird, Brandon. He sent me a text earlier saying they were all getting prepared.
Nice. I've been looking up different turkey recipes just to see if there's any. People be doing some crazy stuff with turkey. Like, come on, man. Like, I'm not looking for like somebody did like Panda Express orange chicken turkey, and somebody else did something wacko, and somebody did like a deep fried turkey, but not like drop it in the fryer, but like actually put batter on it and deep fry it. I mean, it's just stupid crap.
I mean, I dig some Hooters wings, but come on, man.
Right? Yeah. So, yeah, I ain't getting into all that. MDF.
Yeah, hashtag PETM287 all day. I'm so dumb.
That's funny. Any special dishes planned? Green beans wrapped with bacon and brown sugar sauce? Well, damn. That sounds good. Maybe that's a special dish I need to plan. No, we went back. We kind of did some coloring outside the lines last year, and it was really good. This year, I think we're back to normal. The only thing that we have, the only big debate in the Wallace household right now is how to do the green beans. Now, old Rusty wants to put them in a pot for the next 8 hours with a big old hunk of like a smoked pork hock and just let them sit all day. And the wife wants that style that you just saute them real quick with like some butter and garlic and put some Parmesan over them. So, that's a big debate in the Wallace household right now. But
yeah, well, I admit that I succumbed long ago to my dad's desires for what a green bean should be like, and I do like them crispy.
I think I might have said it before, maybe even on the podcast. I was in like I should have had green beans like this by now, high school, before I had green beans like this. I had never had crunch. Like I took a bite and I went, "What in the hell? Hell no!" Like I ain't into it. Like it wasn't that I didn't like it. It was that I was expecting a green bean the way that I've always had green beans, and when I took a bite, I'm like, "Y'all, this is raw. Y'all messed up." So, I've come to I like them just fine. But I'll still like my mush.
I understand. I certainly had my fair share of mush. I was hoping we would get into this in some shape, way, or form about greens, because we never really ate greens when I was a kid. But maybe we'll get in this in the after dark or whatever when we start telling the stories that people aren't supposed to hear in the mainstream. But it was turnip greens that I learned how to eat first, not collards. Mm-hmm. And collards is kind of the garden variety standard.
I made collards the other night, like 2 nights ago, and I'm very picky about my collards too. Collards take water, collards, salt, and some sort of fat, whether it's fatback or, like I said, that smoked ham hock I've been into lately. You just drop one of them in there and just let it go all day. But
oh yeah, no, and so in terms of preparation, I think we're on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
It was just turnip greens that I learned to eat first, and I like York collards, and it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's one peeled Vidalia onion, one some meat left on the bone, like a ham
Mm-hmm.
bone, and you just cook that till whenever
Yeah.
you feel like you're done cooking it.
I could buy into. I haven't done it, but I could try the Vidalia onion. Maybe a little sweetness. I know people put sugar in their collards. You remember the chef at the fraternity house? He used to put he dumped sugar in everything. But
True story.
he dumped sugar in them collard greens, and I came to him one day. I'm like, man, I'm Southern. You're Southern. You know you don't put no sugar in them collard greens. Don't mess with my collard greens, man. he didn't the next time, and I told him, man, them collard greens are good. That's talking about back home. So
they need to be a little bitter. I mean, that's sort of. I mean, the onion will cut just a twinge of that bitterness out.
Yeah,
but not enough for you to be like, they're not bitter anymore. That it doesn't totally mask the fact that you are eating greens.
Yeah.
And it's sort of more of a New Year's tradition, I guess, for me, than it whatever was Thanksgiving or Christmas. It was, green for money, swine for intelligence, and whatever the other thing is for luck.
Black eyed peas.
Oh yeah, it was field peas for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotta have that ketchup on your field peas. Which, for those of you that don't know at home, field peas and black-eyed peas are basically the same thing.
Pretty much. Field peas are like slightly smaller. I actually like, and field peas for whatever reason always came in a can with 3 green beans in it. I don't know.
Yes, they did. And the bushes grew them. They grew them wild, so everything they put up for New Year's was fresh.
Oh, cool.
Fresh frozen.
Oh, that sounds good. Yeah. Yeah. I think I've come to learn that I just don't like sugar in my I'll eat dessert. It's not like I hate sweets or something, but for dinner, I'm staying away from it. Like I don't want sugar in my barbecue rub. I don't want sugar in my collard greens. I don't want sugar. You even look at the sugar when I'm making cornbread, I'm gonna slap you. So,
if you get really good, home ground cornmeal for your cornbread, you got all sugar you need right there.
No kidding.
It's already in there.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
As long as you stay away from that Monsanto poison, you're good.
Well, we went to Texas. We were in Austin at one of the real famous barbecue joints. And I mean, they had that. I thought it was like a northern thing to put all that sugar in there, but no, they had the cornbread cake is what I call it. I mean, it was a dessert. There ain't no other way to describe it. It was dessert. And,
that's that crap I had up in Michigan.
Ugh. Yeah.
It is cake. I was like, man, barbecue and cornbread. Hell yeah, y'all know where I come from. And then I get into it, and I'm like, what is this soggy mess of pork something? And then what is this cake y'all got?
Yeah. I remember going to my great-grandparents' house. We got a young family, so I knew my great-grandparents growing up. And my great-grandfather would take his cornbread and put it in a bowl and pour buttermilk on top of it and just eat it like it was cereal. And I always thought that was the grossest thing I'd ever seen until it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, and I had made a pan of cornbread, and I put some in a bowl, and I was like, you know what this could use is a big old glug of buttermilk. And sure enough, I'm like, you know what? Old Paw, he had something going on, or Daddy John, that's what we called him. Old Daddy John, he had this 50 years ago.
I'll tell you what, I was very skeptical the first time I got invited over to a dinner where the main dish, the primary dish, was pinto beans over cornbread.
Ooh,
I was like, I'm not sure what I'm getting into here. Mm-hmm. This is different. And then I had it, and I was like, actually, this doesn't suck at all. This is kind of good.
Yeah.
If you cook the beans well and you make a good piece of cornbread, boom.
And you know them beans going to have some ham in them just from cooking it. That's what you got to do.
Well, you can't make good pintos without a chunk of ham in there.
Right. My grandmother used to make cornbread. The only other ingredient I've seen that I like in it with you ever had cornbread with crackling in it?
I have.
Yeah.
I would choose to never have that again.
It's a different experience at first, but after a while, I was really into it. And I ain't done it in forever. Probably been 20 years since I had it, but I was a fan. I enjoyed it.
Well, the barbecue joint that we've never gone to right down south of Atlanta Motor Speedway, that's the way they do their cornbread.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, their barbecue and Brunswick stew is to the nines, but that cornbread, it always made me a little leery. I would pluck out that thing that looked like a I don't know, a maggot nest or whatever that
yeah, I
thing
mean,
is.
it's kind of like a really hard snot the first time, and you're like, I don't know about this. But like I said, I mean, all it is, I mean, it's like smoked pork fat, I guess. Worked out.
Right. I mean, it's supposed to check out. It just, as a kid, you're like, this is not. I mean, I grew up with hoe cakes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like, we didn't even have, like, cast iron cornbread, buttermilk cornbread. We had hoe cakes, which is like the cornbread version of a pancake for y'all that don't know at home. This is Southeast Georgia for folk food. It is black as the iron skillet you made it in on both sides, and in the middle it is just moist and hot and corny, and it's awesome.
I see Juliet Miranda joining us. Boy, everybody's on for the pre-Thanksgiving episode. Y'all are going to be sorely disappointed.
Yeah, good thing I brought the wild turkey rare breed Kentucky Spirit single barrel.
There you go. There you go.
Maybe I can impress Juliet with that.
I was going to say, you're dressed to impress with that one. I've got Jim Beam and Coca-Cola. And not even Coke. Coke Zero, Got to watch my figure.
All right. Should we get the iTunes thingy fired up?
Should we start making podcast?
Should we? Yeah, we've started YouTubing, but we haven't podcasted yet.
Well, let's do it. You ready to roll?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I'm recording now. Welcome, y'all! That's right. This is a Pregame Engineer Tailgate Mayor Racing Podcast, episode number 269. It's Tuesday, November 24th, 2020. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace in the PTM Podcast Studio in Atlanta, Georgia. We're about to bring y'all an awesome, fun pre-Thanksgiving episode. Before we do, y'all know what the deal is. This podcast is sponsored by you. That's right. You go to patreon.com/PTM. Join the What You Drink Club for as little as $1 a month. Get that free koozie and some stickers. Best part is, every cent this year, once this year is finally over, we're donating to sponsored drivers, so join the PTM Posse today. Be a part of the sport you love. This week's show brought to you by our official sponsors at that $5 and up per month level. Here we go. Aaron Bearden, Robert Kettlinger, Coleman McNair, Eric Kettner, Ryan Kiefer, Patrick Cleary, Jeff Brown, Brandon Collar, Kathy McDonald, Brea, Brandon Carl, Rick Porter, Julie Bosley, Grid the Third, Younger Motorsports, David Mullins, Patrick Johnson, Brett Morris, Crystal Smoke, Fred Rosado, Chad Knapp, and Stacey Coleman, Lisa Chinana, Eric Houston, Sarah Ann Barry, Evan Roller, Matthew Bishop, Matthew Camper, Ari Balzania, AJ Evangelista, Les Miller, and Jumpy Bob. You hear that, Sherwin?
Skew! I'm glad you got to do that, not me.
Well, I moved Jumpy Bob back to the rear of the bus there. So
I saw that.
Yeah.
He will appreciate that.
Good. From the PTM North Carolina studio, I've already introduced you. What's up, Sherman?
I'm here, man.
Oh, man.
Skew for the second time? Skew.
Yeah, Skew, yeah. Dude, what you drinking tonight? It's just us, by the way, everybody. Not, we usually have a very special guest with us, but today we just decided we're going to do some pre-Thanksgiving stuff. Just sit around and shoot the stuff.
shoot the breeze.
Shoot the breeze.
We're giving about 30 minutes, and that might turn into a cuss word.
Right. My vocabulary just goes in half when I have to be, nice. It just doesn't flow off the tongue so well.
I mean, there's a reason why we always kind of started this thing with not want to open it up with like 75 F words.
Very deliberate.
But want to go ahead and shout out now that we're back, we're on the podcast, and this will be on the iTunes and everywhere else. Juliet Miranda, Morning Neurosis, we appreciate you being here, and here's my wild turkey to you. Single barrel. It's delicious. Still celebrating Chase Elliott's championship season.
Well, I did not dress to impress. I've got Jim Beam and Coke Zero, and on deck a Miller Lite White Label. So there's nothing about any of that is like, I always got the finger up. What's up?
Well, I do have a beer. I
Okay.
want to shout out to our Pennsylvania friends, Old Latrobe.
Wow.
Tasty corn beer, since we spent the entirety of the pre-show talking about cornbread.
Yeah.
Seemed fitting.
Yeah.
Why does Rolling Rock taste different, y'all? Well, the primary grain is corn, much like the whiskey that we love to drink.
I don't think I've had a Rolling Rock since me and you had one, and who knows when that was.
It's delicious, by the way.
I don't hate it. It's different. It's one of those different things. The first time you have it, you go, no, I'm not so sure about that. And then, of course, you're going to have a second one because, that's what you're drinking tonight. And then the second one, you're like, all right, I see where we're going. Third one, hey, hand me that Rolling Rock. I got
And
to
it
pound
starts
one.
going down like, I mean, air.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we packed coolers and did paddle signings watching The Big Lebowski with coolers full of glass bottles of Rolling Rock.
You know what? I texted my sister. Not texted. I know what it was. I called her yesterday. Now,
Whoa.
it's like me and you, right? If I call, it's like there's something serious. This was not something serious. I just had a reminder of something, and I didn't feel like texting because my phone was acting up. But I call her, and she's like, "Is everything okay?" And I dropped nothing is blah
Nothing is,
f.
everything is
You're being very
very
undue.
undued.
She didn't get it, and she was and so
No!
she's coming over for Thanksgiving, and I'm like, well, we're gonna watch. You need to just go ahead and plan on another hour and a half at the end of the night, because that's what we're gonna do, and you're gonna be very annoyed because I'm just gonna sit there and quote the whole thing and laugh my butt off at places where you probably wouldn't normally laugh, except you've laughed with your friends at it before, blah blah blah. So I've got
It's the movie that keeps on giving.
I've got that coming up. What you got for Thanksgiving?
I'm gonna hit the road Thursday morning
Mm-hmm.
for Fayetteville.
Mm-hmm.
Hang out with mom and dad. They don't get all hung up in that whatever that southern thing is where you have to have Thanksgiving at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So,
Oh God, I don't know.
it's a dinner time affair for us. So I'll get there probably mid-afternoon, I reckon. I'm sure the Manhattans will be a flowing.
Yes, sir. Well done. Well, tell the folks I said hey for sure. And I'll tell you what, man. You said it. This is a long going thing. I finally have the family that comes over backed up to like 5 o'clock, and that's when we're eating. Is at 5 o'clock, and that's still a little early for normal dinner time. I 6 is fine. That works perfect. If you want 7 is almost like the golden hour. That's when you eat dinner. Because you can do like appetizers beforehand and blah, blah, blah. But
Oh
man,
yeah, you do wine and cheese in the afternoon,
right.
and then you get a cocktail, and then
you get all
finish
lubed up.
the cooking.
Yeah, yeah. But man, they want to, the first year, let's eat dinner or whatever that we're calling it at 2 o'clock. I'm like, I ain't doing none of that. And I know, like you said, kind of southern. I don't know if it's southern or elsewhere or who all does that, but 2 o'clock is, I don't get it. Now you're just rushing yourself to try to get dinner out. And I'm smoking a bird, so I'd have to get up at 2 in the morning to get everything ready, so I ain't doing that.
Well, I mean, you know what? When you bring the choice protein of the evening,
Mm-hmm.
you should get to decide when that bird gets cut.
Right, right. So I finally told them, because they were like, okay, we'll do 4. I said, all right, fine, we'll do 4. And then I just didn't serve them until 5. That's just what we're doing. You're
Yeah, get another
stuck in my
glass
house.
of wine, you'll be fine.
Yeah,
It's fine.
yeah. Everybody chill. We're all good.
It'll
Sherwin,
taste even better after another glass of Merlot.
right? I do have to say, so last June, we went down to Florida for my wife's grandmother's 90th birthday party. And when we got there, we rolled up to her house, and she was rounding the corner in like a half walk, half trot with her dog. And remember, I just said, this is June in Central Florida. And she's rounding the corner. It's 95 degrees outside, and she walks up. She's like, "Hey, y'all, how you doing? Good to see you." We walk in, and she goes, "What can I get you to drink?" And she runs into the kitchen to grab us all something to drink. 90 years old, and she's like, "I got tea, I got water." And she looks over at me and Serena and goes, "I got vodka, if that's your jam." Like, I mean, she's just cool as the other side of the pillow, man. And I do have to announce the unfortunate news that we lost her earlier today. So hats are off and drinks are up. This one is for Virginia. Virginia Frizzell, we love you. And, yep. And take that drink. So, it's a great memory to have, at the end of that. So yeah, 90 years young, or 91, I guess, because we would have 91. She would have, turned 91 in this past June, because it was a year ago, because this whole, last 10 months doesn't count toward time, right? we all get to like add 1 to the end for this whole thing.
I think there is a carryover. There's a carry one, like the college athletes that want to get one more year of scholarship out of this year if they want.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I always adored my mama. She missed her 90th birthday by 3 weeks, the same way her sister and her grandmother both did.
Oh
It's
wow.
like poetic in a lot of ways. So I'm like, all right, mom, you got 16 years. Let's make the hell out
I was
of it.
about to say, well, you know what your expiration date is.
Yeah, right. But I loved hearing the stories about my mom going down to see her before she went into, care
Hmm.
facility. Because her husband, who died when I was still in college, Rusty, you may remember that, you may not. Um, he was my step granddaddy, but he was my, he's Papa, the
Right.
one taught me to fish, all
Right.
that good stuff. And he was an alcoholic, a recovered alcoholic,
Mm.
and did a lot of really great things in his community. So there was never booze anywhere.
Hmm.
And we make a lot of jokes now because my mom's side of the family, just like my dad's, they like a drink. The stories my mom would tell about how mama would be like she bought her a handle of Evan Williams, and she's like, "Can you think we can have a little drink before we go to bed?" And I'm like, I never knew that mama. I never got to know her.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Dude, I saw a sign. I think it was on Reddit. Who knows if it's real or whatever, but I loved it because it was math nerdy. And it was a sign for a town, and it said population 260, elevation 3,540 feet, and then population, or not population, year founded 1951. And then it had an equal bar underneath all that and said total. And it added up all three of those stupid numbers together and has a total on the bottom.
See, now that's how you put a sense of humor into some government spending right there.
Right? I love it. And what's funny? The first thing I thought of was OPS. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what we do with like a real stat in baseball, for example. We just add two numbers that don't make sense to add and call it a stat. So
Yeah, plus war and whatever the heck else.
yeah, yeah. So I'm curious. So now the problem is if you try to do that for Atlanta, it's like population 10 million, elevation 1,000. So you don't really get that impact of the total at the bottom.
You know what's funny about that? And we may have talked about this last week too, so bear with me for those who are getting repeated this information. But somebody had asked me about the weather. I don't know if it was you or if this was a sidebar conversation, but like, what's the weather like up there in North Carolina? And I'm like, it's the same.
Same as you, minus one
It,
day.
yeah, I mean, the only difference is I'm like 200 miles further east, so it gets darker earlier. That's really about it.
Yeah, yeah. No, we've been talking. Today was the first day I left, and the sun was still out since the time change. So I was pretty stoked about that. Leaving work today, I might have. I don't know who all listens to this, but I might have ducked out just a hair under the clock time.
Under the whistle.
Yeah,
I might have snuck out about 10 to 5.
there you go. There you
I
go.
got in at 10 after 7, so I figured I'd put a day in.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. Well, sir, since it's the off season and there's only so much to talk about, figure we might throw it back this week and talk about a little story. You had texted me like, hey, how about we just tell one of the stories? And I thought, I don't know, what's a story that we hadn't told necessarily? Maybe we've told pieces, but one we haven't really gone into. And I thought about a few different races, but then I thought, how about Bristol when we dragged that trailer 6 hours up north? And so might as well start with that one. And I think where it starts is we had been rained out at Bristol so many daggum times. And we always hung out with Julie Bosley and Mike, and they are awesome. And we would stay in a tent on the bottom of the hill and get absolutely drenched. And at one point there was a non-intentional waterfall behind our tent.
Oh yeah, this is for those looking for perspective. This is down by the drag strip.
Yeah, down by the drag strip, and they're up on high ground. And so we went up with them, and we must have hung out all night long. You slept in my truck that night because it was just so wet.
Slept.
Quote unquote slept. Yeah, yeah. So the next year, turns out Julie gets over to us and says, we got a spot next to us, and if y'all want it, the folks just gave us their little tag or whatever. It's normally $1,500 or something like that. She's like, if y'all want it, you can just have it and come party with us. And we're like, hell yes, we're doing that. Because, if it rains, we get to sleep. If it, either way, we'll get something with air conditioner or whatnot. And so we're scrambling now. We got to figure this thing out. I went online and I found like some 1970s Winnebago that this one guy was offering up, and all these other different things. But I think Sherwin, you found like this what is it, like Airbnb for trailers.
Pretty much, yeah.
And you found a pop-up tent, and as I recall, you called the Speedway and said, all right, listen. We're gonna be parking it on the drag strip, and y'all, the drag strip is where like Mike Helton parks, right? He's like 15, 20 trailers down from the Bosleys, and all these other important people are there. We're talking about $2+ million trailers,
and not trailers either. Motor
RVs.
coaches, $1 million motor coaches.
yeah, and I mean they get progressively more. I would say not millions of dollars as you go down, but Sherwin calls him up and says, all right, listen, what is the minimal equipment required for us to be able to stay up there? Because if they'd have said Papa, or if they'd have said, like, you can tent camp there, that's what we were doing. We were going to tent camp. But just because, we're cheap rednecks, I guess. But they said, you can bring a pop-up, like almost like, why would you do this? But, technically, within the rules, you can bring a pop-up. And Sherman's like, pop-up? All right, done. So he goes online, gets us a pop-up that we rent for the weekend for just a couple $100. It was a great deal. And the thing worked out awesome. So we went and got it the night before, the day before, whatever, hooked it up to my truck. We drove it to my house. And, y'all, I live in a townhome, and my carport is exactly 2 vehicles wide. And with nobody around, old Rusty pulls up in a 2-point turn, pull forward and pull backward. I put that thing on the money in my carport. And there's stuff on either side. Like, you can't mess this up, right? There's no room for error. But I parked it perfect. I unhooked it and then parked my truck next to it for the 2 spots in my carport. It was money perfect, no problem there. So, Sherwin, then we get up the next morning, we hook up the trailer, and we head off to Bristol, but we have to make a stop in Asheville, right?
Of course we do.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we always do. You got to get up there, get some of that really good craft beer. And by the way, until they figure out a way to run us off, you can't hardly beat. Now, it's a small menu, but you can't beat Wicked Weed's menu. They got a great burger and their fish and chips. Boom.
Yeah, so we roll up, and Asheville's one of those places where it's just street parking, or you can park in a deck. Well, I ain't fixing to tow the trailer into a deck, so I'm trying to find street parking forever because I need 2 spots, and then I'm not sure exactly how to pay it. And then I don't have any change, and they didn't have the app thing yet, so I had to like run into this other bar and get change and whatnot, trying to find a place to park this thing. So we're there's my truck and the trailer just parked out on the middle of the road somewhere.
And we hammered like 47 quarters into those 2 meters.
And then went and got us a burger and a brew and headed on up to Bristol. And sure enough, pull up, and I mean, we're passing, hey, there's $1 million trailer. Hey, there's a $2 million. Oh, there's Mike Helton. Hi, Mike. There's this and that. Yep, we got our pop-up. How y'all doing? and so it comes to the point where Rusty needs to back this thing in, and I've got days worth of room, right? I've got room on either side. I need to park this. It's probably, 12 feet wide? And I need to park it in a spot that is 40 feet wide or so. I'm exaggerating on all these numbers.
There's 6 beers on each side of you.
Oh, yeah.
How much space you got.
Easy. And front to back, I've got all the room in the world. It's made for these coaches, right? And we're pulling in a pop-up, so who cares? Y'all, this was a 15-point turn that required somebody else to move their trailer so that I could get this thing in, because I was a total dunce in front of an audience. It's only with the audience. Back at my house, just plug that thing right into the spot that it has to go in. First time, no problem.
And I can attest to this because I was impressed with how well he had parked it when we got to his house. I was like, oh yeah, Rusty's got this no problem. I mean, it just reminded me of all the trailers I'd backed up with a tractor. I'm like, yeah, this is how you do that. And we get up on the hill at Bristol. There's 50 people watching. Rusty's like, "What? I don't even know what to do." And like, it took us like 15 minutes just to park. And then, of course, we're dragging all these power cords and junk out. And we're like, "Where the hell is this plug in at?" They're like, you need water? Like, no, we're not taking a shower in here. We just need the air conditioner.
Oh man, I love that story in that with an audience is all it took for me to just completely, I don't know if you call it freeze up or just completely lose all sanity. I know how to back up a trailer. This ain't new territory for old Rusty. I just did it yesterday perfectly, and and I can't even get close, y'all. It was hilarious, and it was funny because beforehand, when we pull up, that dude across from us was like, "Hey, you need me to move my truck or whatever it was?" And I was like, "No, man, I got this. Ain't no problem." And I'm telling you, it was like 15 minutes later, like Sherwin said, that I'm like, "Hey, you mind moving that truck?" He does. Like it was that much of a clown
At least
show.
they started kind of laughing. They were like, "Okay, do y'all need a beer?" And we're like, "No, we got a bunch of that."
I could probably use a beer. Let me crack one.
I mean, when you hit Copperhead Road, trust me, if you don't have an open beer, you ain't living right.
Mm-hmm. Well, so if you remember, so we go to the race and all that and have a great weekend. We have that pop-up there with the AC running full time the whole time, and it was glorious. It was the best sleep I ever got.
It was hypothermia in there, which was fantastic.
Sherwin woke me up, which, y'all, this is a rarity, because I don't even use alarm clocks. I wake up with the sun, but I must have put something over my head, and Sherwin woke me up for the tweet up, saying, "Dude, tweet up." And I'm like, "What in the hell time is it?" He's like, 9 o'clock. I'm like, "When did we go to bed?" He's like, 11. Jesus, get up, man. So, so yeah, I had fantastic sleep in the pop-up over at Bristol. Well, we go to leave, and if you recall, Sherwin, this thing had kind of like a tricky hitch on it. And so we hitched it up and everything, and then
the tongue didn't fit very well.
Right. So there's when you're leaving, you have to go down this hill and then up an extreme hill right after that. So you get this kind of dip right in the middle of all that. And we hit that dip, and you hear this clunk, and then which makes me freak out and stomp on the brakes. Well, we had set the safety chains, so the safety chains had caught it. But then when I slammed on the brakes, the trailer kept going, and so it hit my trailer hitch. Because it had popped off and then it hit the trailer hitch, and then it was a moment of panic in that we are 6 hours away from where this thing is supposed to be, and this is going to be a problem. So
did we just tear this thing up or
right,
what?
Right. We got out to hook it back up, but now we're on an uphill incline trying to drag the trailer forward a little bit to put it on the hitch while it's still on the safety chains. So it was a mess getting that thing back. People were passing us going, "Hey, y'all need some help?" And we're like, "I don't think so, but maybe do a lap and come back around. We'll let you know."
Yeah, there was some pride hurting there. We're just kind of like, "Nah, we got it."
Yeah.
But maybe we don't.
Right. So all of that perfect execution to get to the track and total annihilation of thought at the track, and both backing it in and then it popping off the hitch and everything. But sure enough, we got it hooked up and got it hooked up right, I guess. Hopefully, I don't know. Maybe it just sat on the top of it for the rest of the. Sat on top of the ball.
I think we got the tongue in place, but yeah, we didn't get it right the first time.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
So drove it back to Atlanta, had a great time. But that's the Bristol stupid trailer story. I would do it again tomorrow in a heartbeat.
and one more anecdotal piece. I know some of the folks that follow us regularly on the Twitters have probably seen this car before. This car arrived.
47.
Because Julie Bosley said, "Hey, I've got an extra can of Bush's beans," which they were doing a food drive to help people that needed to get some food.
Mm-hmm.
And they were handing out die casts for AJ Allmendinger's number 47 JTG Doherty ride. And she had a can and she hollered them down. I mean, chased them down on a cart and go, "Hey, man, we got another can. We're going to need another die cast." And I mean, she said it just like that. I mean, it was just kind of like, "You don't have a choice right now. Get die cast over here now." So I have that die cast still, and I will have it forever because of that fun experience.
Yeah. And I've got a hat out of it. I've got a hat in my closet right now. I should have worn it for this, thinking about that experience. But yeah, it was like a $1.29 can of beans for a $40 diecast and a $20 hat. So it worked out pretty well for old Rusty and Sherwin that day.
Yeah, shook out pretty good. That was $300 well spent on that Airbnb bumper pull.
We at least got $200 worth of stories out of it.
For sure. That's a break-even point, isn't it?
Right.
And I'm only 66% into this thing.
That's redneck investment right there. Sherwin, I believe it is time to go ahead and tear it down. Here we go. Look out. Report card time. So a lot of this I'd written down for the show last week, but of course Bob got into telling stories, and Bob's telling stories. I ain't going to stop him. So we had a good old time. But we do have some things to talk about. And first on the list, how about Jeb Burton filling Ross Chastain's car in Xfinity with Colleague Racing? His first full-time ride since Thor Sport and Trucks in 2014. That's pretty cool.
That's awesome, and I can't imagine that spotter Brett Griffin didn't play a role somewhere in this whole situation, being he's got a relationship with the spotter, and he's been he's obviously been involved with Ross Chastain for a while now. So, yeah, I think it's awesome. I mean, anytime a Legacy is going to get a shot at a really good race car, and especially a company that has already basically told everybody, look, we're preparing to go cup racing. So whatever that means is what it means, but we're going to field 2.5 cars like we had the last 2 years, and Jeb's going to get to drive one of them for every single race. And that's cool, man.
Well, I was looking back at stats because I was like, well, what's Jeb been doing? And Jeb's been doing some daggum racing, sir. He ran 11 races this season. And here's several of his finishes. 3rd at Dega, 6th at Texas, 7th at Dover, 2nd at Richmond, 9th at Bristol, and 4th at Martinsville. Like, holy crap. I did not realize. I had not been paying the right amount of attention to the right places to know that it all went down. Yeah,
he and Hemrick shared a lot of races in that number 8 Junior Motorsports car that's kind of their R&D car, their development car. And obviously he acquitted himself rather well with all those single-digit finishes.
Yeah, so excited to see Jeb Burton in that car. And, of course, Ross Chastain moving into Cup. This is going to be a fun season. I said it, whether it was last week or 2 weeks ago, the thing that I missed most sporting-wise this year was getting to the racetrack. It's just one of them, and especially, I shouldn't say especially, but working in high-tech, and you do the same, Sherwin, and being able to just let it all go, and be at the racetrack around some campfire or something, and not having to deal with nothing. And I don't know what to say. I miss the racetrack sorely at this point.
Well, to your point on that, I mean, yeah, we tend to get involved at work in what we do for our profession. What puts the money in the bank account tends to be pretty intense. Involves a whole lot of thinking, a lot less like doing on the physical nature, but a whole lot of thinking, which is just as tiresome on the body. Believe it or not, for those who are listening, it is. It's very stressful. To go to the racetrack is, to me, a lot like, and we didn't put this in the notes, but I'm going to go ahead and do it now. It's a whole lot like small town Saturday night when we were teenagers running up and down the road in pickup trucks, trying to figure out where we're going to buy beer, trying to figure out the spot in the woods where we're going to build a campfire, sit around, and stay there way too long, and then go to Waffle House. So on that note, I'll say rest in peace, Mr. Howe. Catch him.
Sir, were you
small town Saturday night?
Were you spying on me or something? Like, you just described every freaking that was it was kind of Saturday/Friday night. Friday night was our jam because that's football game happens, and then football game lets out, and it's on. There's going to be a Waffle House that gets we had the eye on the Waffle House. Which one are we going to? We're going to go to the one on 78. We're going to go to the one on 124. That was the only question. And then the second, I won't call it question, but we know what we're going to do in between there.
Right. Well, if we only had the one Waffle House, it was on Georgia 85, right in the middle of town. But by the time I was, 16, 17, 18 years old, we had the Chick-fil-A Dwarf House, which is
Mm.
where everybody went after basketball and football. But the times I remember being the most fun is sitting outside the car in the parking lot above the football stadium after playing a soccer game, and all my redneck buddies going, "Hey man, you want to get out in jeans or what?" And I'm like, "I don't think you realize all the equipment I have to put on to play this game because my body is already broken and I'm just a teenager." I mean, I'm peeling tape off. I got braces, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Would you just put some jeans on so we can go? We're gonna miss our beer buying window."
I will say that my claim to fame, for the high school at least, was we would tailgate the football games, and we were the only people in the whole parking lot. We brought a grill, and we brought all the food and drinks and all that stuff. I mean, we obviously not drinking beer in the middle of the high school parking lot beforehand, but you see my qualifiers here. But we tailgated the football games and just had a good old time, and nobody else was there. If you drive by that high school on a Friday night now, there are tailgaters across the whole deal. And I'm like, hey, that was my deal. Y'all just copycatting me. I at least have something that I can, some sort of mark that I can leave on the high school.
Well, so I'll say this: I was in that crowd, but I didn't start it, so I might have been a joiner on. But we were definitely that crowd that was in the old school parking lot because we had two schools. We had the new one and the old one, and the stadium was at the old school, which was right across the street. I mean, it was the same thing, really. But yeah, we had the grills and the whatnot, and everybody raising hell, and somebody probably had Everclear in their Mountain Dew or whatever they had, just because that's what you do in 1998. But some of the most fun I had was coming back when I was still when I was in college. And we would there was a spot in a pecan grove overlooking down where you could actually watch the football game and drink beer in the woods. And nobody knew you was there.
Wow. That's like some under the bleachers kind of stuff right there.
Oh, yeah. It was good stuff. It was good old classic Southern redneck town.
Mm-hmm. So also in the last couple days, as of last podcast, and I'd written this note, John Hunter Nemechek announced that he's not returning to Front Row Motorsports in 2021, which, I mean, this is Front Row, y'all. They're not something to just shake a stick at. And I said, that's a pretty bold move with seats filling up right now. There's got to be something under the hood here, something a la Bubba Wallace, doing his deal with RPM and all that. So come to find out, Sherwin, some announcements, whether it's today or earlier this week.
Yeah, no, I mean, so we'll talk about the Bubba thing just for a second. The way these guys tend to do this thing, especially when it gets later in the year, is they let the team they are currently employed with know that they are leaving so that team can pursue another athlete to get in their seat. We didn't really know as much about what was going to happen with John Hunter, but for all of the cloud noise that you will hear on the Twitter or read on the Twitter, as it were, this seems like a very good power play for John Hunter Nemechek to join Kyle Busch Motorsports in a fully funded full season truck and to get into the TRD fold, because that's what it means to race for Kyle Busch. If you race for Kyle Busch in his truck, you are funded by TRD. You are fast tracked by Toyota. And John Hunter is so young, this just makes so much sense. He's got a cup experience now. He did pretty well. We talked about how he fell off in the last half of the season, but he was up there in the conversation for Rookie of the Year for the first 16 or 18 races. No doubt.
Yeah.
And in a car that probably shouldn't have competed with the other rookies, if we're being fair. No offense meant at all to Front Row, but yeah. So I kind of felt like something like this was going to happen. I didn't realize it was going to be this big. So
yeah.
For me, it's okay. This is as big as it could be to take a step down and go, I'm going to reset, and I'm going to see what it looks like for John Hunter to get in the best equipment that is in the sport.
Yeah. That was like, you remember how we felt when Casey went from, was he at Red Bull at the time? And then like, hey, I'm going over to Hendrick. And it's like, holy smokes. If you're a John Hunter fan right now, you're like, all right, buddy, you've got the stuff. So yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah. Well, it's time to let the steering wheel roll, baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you've got the goods, now's the time to let everybody know.
So on the chat wall here, Roger says, my sister and I tailgated our mom's memorial service, had food and sodas in the parking lot. I can't claim to have tailgated that kind of thing, but I would say, Sherwin, me and you have tailgated multiple weddings, including my own.
Oh, goodness gracious. You know what? I remember being in Swainsboro, Georgia when my grandmother died. She was 89. And we had the whole family there, everybody, all of the Lawsons. And that's my mom's side. And we were all hooting and hollering and doing a wine tasting. I had brought some wine up from South Georgia. There's a great winery down there where I used to live, and surprisingly. And we were all hooting and hollering, having a good time. And this couple walked upstairs, and this is an old school bed and breakfast. I mean, the building itself is probably over 150 years old. And this couple walked up and said, what are y'all up to? Because we had the whole top floor.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, we're celebrating life. You know, our matriarch passed, but she didn't pass early. She lived a good life. And the husband, dad, man, whatever you want to say, said, I hope like hell my family celebrates my life the way you're celebrating your matriarch's life. And I'm like, I think we did this right.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
I think we got it right.
Right? No kidding. I tell you what, whenever it is that I decide to take the old Rainbow Bridge, y'all better not be, just sitting there all sad and everything. I need some partying. I'll leave it in the will. $10,000 for the party that happens when that happens. But
I'll be wearing that cowboy hat right there.
Whether it's in your own casket or in front of mine.
I hope it's 60 years from now.
I hear you, man. I hear you. So, anyway, as we get all sidetracked, how about the Jamie Little announcement? Play-by-play voice of Arca series on Fox make broadcast history in February as the first woman to call play-by-play for National Motorsports Series. I think we talked about it in the After Dark last week, but the way I was saying it is like, man, I really like the presence here in that, trying to think of the way to say it. When we talk to Jeff Striegel, I think of him as a voice of NASCAR, right? And I mean, that's what MRN says they are. We're the voice of NASCAR, right? When I hear Jamie Little speak, I think of her as a voice of NASCAR. So I couldn't be anything more than excited about Jamie Little getting that opportunity and everything. And it's super, not just well-deserved, but maybe even something that needed to happen even sooner. But yeah, it's really cool. And yeah, loving what we're seeing right now in the terms of diversity in the sport and everything.
Yeah, I think it's great. Jamie has always put her best foot forward with every opportunity she's had in racing, be it Indy, be it X Games, be it NASCAR. She's synonymous across all racing communities as someone who loves racing. Mm-hmm. And she's always done her homework. And so this, to me, is very logical. I would agree with your sentiment that maybe it took a little too long. Mm-hmm. But it's happening now, so let's celebrate it now. Let's not worry about that it took till now. Let's just celebrate it now and enjoy the fact that she has decided to say, I want to do something more challenging than be a pit road reporter. Or I want to do something more challenging than be a studio host on race day or be a television show, a daily TV show host. I want to be on the broadcast during the race. Mm-hmm. And she's going to get a chance to do that.
We're going to have to talk to our friend Charlie about that one.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. He'll have stuff to say. Maybe we'll have him on the show sometime soon to talk through that. But I know he will be beyond excited as well. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Really I think he'll share our sentiment in that for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sherwin, I'm blasting through stuff here, but how about this one? On Instagram, Rick Ware Racing. And I'm not saying this came from Rick Ware. And by the way, PTM alum Rick Ware.
True story.
Yep. And he said, or I shouldn't say, again, I'm not saying he said it, but Rick Ware Racing said that we will continue to run Ford Mustangs and Chevrolet Camaros, but we'll soon be announcing an additional manufacturer that will run with us in 2021. And nope, it's not Toyota. And that was like record scratch, drop the mic, holy spit. What does this mean?
Didge.
You think it's Dodge?
I hope it is. I mean,
Yeah.
that would make America whole again, wouldn't it? Although somebody will whine about Fiat being the primary owner of it, but who cares?
Right.
Dodge is an American company.
Do they come back as Dodge, you think, or Chrysler? They wouldn't be in Chrysler, but even Fiat? Do you think they'd do that? Or
they might. They would have to develop a car that would fit a little better. The Supra is a stretch, much like the Camry is a stretch in Cup. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do whatever you want. I mean, we get those. If we get those colors back in the sport, that's good.
yeah, yeah.
I don't think BMW or Volkswagen or Mercedes or even Honda are ready yet. Maybe it's Honda. Honda would be cool.
Honda would be.
Honda still doesn't have a production V8 though. That's the thing they're gonna struggle with processing on.
Yeah, yeah. No, I as much. Hey, y'all, I drive a Dodge truck, so I mean, come on. But I would be Dodge. It's just that Dodge would be the obvious choice, right? What if? And that's where I'm going with all this. Is let's play what if scenarios. What if it's BMW? What if it's Nissan? What if? What if? What if?
All right. Well, let's what if all the way down the line because
what if it's Kia?
Kia does have a V8. Kia does have a V8. So, and it makes a lot of sense. Kia's biggest stronghold is in LaGrange, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they build most of their stuff. That's built in the United States.
West Point, exit 6 off of I-85 south from Atlanta.
Yeah, and mile marker 8 all the way to mile marker 4. That Joker's 2 miles long and a plus because they have all the parts builders built up behind them.
Yeah. Oh, what's funny is, and Sherwin, me and you did this drive, not this year, last year, I guess, going down to the lake house in Alabama. But it's really funny to see right there at exit 6, which means, y'all, that's 6 miles from the Alabama border. And just across the border is one after the other manufacturing plant for feeding Kia. It's hilarious. All these,
Oh, yeah, they're all Japanese and Korean parts builders.
Yeah.
They all supply Kia and Honda.
Yeah.
Because Honda's got a big facility in Birmingham.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they build the Odyssey, the van that, I mean, has been crushing it for years.
Yeah. So it's funny to see all that, and who knows what all state tax laws and everything else that go into it. But you've got the whole Kia plant there, and as soon as you cross the border, here's a place that does steering wheels, and here's a place that does fuel injection, here's a place that does tires and all that. It's one of those like, well, this is pretty obvious what's going on here, fellas.
You know what? I want to say this real quick, especially now we're a pretty gung-ho America and got the American flag up there. Every one of those people that works in those mills all along I-85, leaving Georgia, going into Alabama, gets a paycheck from an American company.
Mm-hmm.
Those are Americans getting paychecks.
I'm seeing some others. Mercedes, that would be a big move. The Evan principal has said for us. Evan?
Yeah, Mercedes has a big plant in, I want to say Tennessee and maybe even Kentucky. But yeah, BMW builds a lot of stuff in South Carolina, and Honda is in Ohio and Kentucky and in Alabama.
Yeah.
So I mean, like it's all up in the NASCAR footprint.
Well, not just footprint, but racing footprint. All these players have have racing in their blood. They're slapped all over every sticker on every car in other series. It just makes sense.
Well, I mean, think about TRD has decided that despite the fact that they want to compete at the top level in NASCAR, which they do, Denny Hamlin, 7 wins in the Cup Series, multiple championships with Kyle Busch. They decided to stay on the West Coast because they're like, look, most of our TRD stuff is still kind of over here, but we're dedicated to supporting NASCAR, even if we have to ship motors across the country to Charlotte overnight in order for them to demo them.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're in, like we're into the racing thing. We're just not moving out of Los Angeles. This is our spot.
What does it take for a manufacturer to get into NASCAR? Because I mean, what for the casual fan, you're going to see a bunch of cars go around, and unless you're looking at that emblem on the very front, they're all the same. So I'm taking the opposite position here right now. But what does it mean for a new manufacturer to come into the sport?
I don't think it means nearly as much as it used to from a what is a fan going to do perspective. I don't think, for instance, somebody who loves sports car racing and loves BMWs is suddenly gonna become a NASCAR fan because BMW decides they want to get into NASCAR. Because I think our sport, at least today, is much more based on who the driver is and who the team is. And then like tertiary or quaternary is where you care about where the manufacturer lives in that space. Like there are definitely still hardcore Ford and Chevy fans. We're going to see Calvin and Hobbes pissing on one of those emblems on the back of a pickup truck probably till the end of time. And I hope so.
I hope so
because I love that enthusiasm.
Yeah.
But I don't think it means the same thing from a fan perspective as it does from a manufacturing and a competition perspective. If BMW shows up and they apply for their license next year in July, which is about when you have to do it, 18 months ahead, and says we're going to show up with a car at Daytona, I think people are going to take notice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to be necessarily because they're like, oh, I'm all in on BMW. I don't care what they do, or Mercedes, Volkswagen, whoever. It's not going to be because they're so dialed into the manufacturer. They're going to be like, holy shit, NASCAR, this is fixing to get way more different than just a Toyota thing. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'll stick around and see what that is.
Yeah. What does the manufacturer have to do, though? Like, what does, Honda says, yeah, we want to field a car. Do they just start buying stuff, or what do they need to develop? Well, you already talked about with Honda not having a production V8, so they need to do something there. But do they really? Do they just buy a bunch of engines off of Chevy and slap their sticker on it?
Well, Toyota didn't really get involved with NASCAR until they went to a bigger truck with the Tundra, and they developed a V8. And the problems that they faced while they were going through those growing pains with the trucks before they brought it to Xfinity and then Cup was that their motor was too tall. It didn't fit the engine bay. So they had to learn a lot of things to compress it down. I think the biggest thing that these other manufacturers that we've discussed is they're all dual overhead variable cam. NASCAR is still center cam. And so there's going to be a motor change. But to answer your question about what's it take to get in, it will never be cheaper for a new manufacturer to get in the sport than in 2022, because you have to buy your frame from one manufacturer. You have to buy your body panels from one manufacturer. Everybody has to buy the same stuff. Is that going to make it harder for the people that run 33rd to 40th? Of course it is. We'll have to manage through that. Bob told us all about that last week. But now's the time. 2022 is the time for a new manufacturer to show up.
Yeah. I think we'll see it. I mean, why wouldn't we? It's a low investment. Maybe not from somebody like Honda who doesn't have that production V8. But if you're toying with the idea, now's the time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Press the go button. Just hit the go button.
Just make it happen. Sherwin, I figured I would wrap us up, not wrap us up, but at least wrap up the 2020 season with a few stats. And like the first three of them have to do with Kevin Harvick, because of course they do. But we already talked about Chase's, setting some records in the past 25 plus years on age and this, that, and the other, and legacy and all that. But Kevin Harvick had led the series with 9 wins. And here's the thing that I kind of heard that he led most, not led, but finished most of the laps, of course. But He only did not finish 3 laps, like the whole season. He was a lap down at Martinsville, Homestead, and Texas. Otherwise, lead lap every freaking race. That is that's one of those stats that can't be a stat thing.
It really is. It's those naughty. It's a naughty numbers thing, like the radio guys I like to listen to say, like, how does that even that math that it doesn't math out. It just doesn't math.
It doesn't math out. So yeah, that's wild. And I didn't put this one in, but I think he was the only person to finish every race too. I think maybe Hamlin and 2 other people like finished all but 1 race or something, but Harvick was the only one to finish every race too. Which, I mean, we were just talking about manufacturers. I mean, SHRs, they're feeling pretty good about their whole Ford move now.
I would think so. I mean, we talked about it before about how like people lost their freaking minds because Smoke was like going to go to Ford, and they're like, "No, he's a Chevy man. He'll never do that." But like,
same with
I think we said it on our show, like, "Hey, SHR just went to Ford #1, and if you can be Ford Performance #1, you get all of the monies." That associate with being Ford #1. Now, Penske's a very close 1B.
Yeah.
But, that's only 7 cars. They really only have 7 cars.
Well,
seven and a half. Sorry, I don't want to pick on the Wood brothers. 7.5.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we counted it up. There's like this was several, maybe dozens of episodes ago at this point, but that here's the makeup of the field, and this goes right back to the manufacturer thing we were talking about before, but it's like Chevy. Oh, there's a Ford. Chevy. Oh, there's a JGR, which that's synonymous with Toyota at this point.
Oh, 100%. I mean, especially after what Bob told us about how they were going to approach their relationship with TRD, over at his place with Levine Family Racing. It's like, there's only a couple slots.
Yeah.
And Hamlin and Michael Jordan just filled that slot.
No kidding. And what Bob had said last week about the manufacturer stuff was just, sitting there with my mouth open and bugs flying in and out, just in terms of the behind the scenes of that whole relationship and how all that stuff works and the money stuff. I was very impressed with how he went straight into the money and like, here's how much that costs. Here's how much, because you tell your casual fan, well, this costs $2 million to do this and $1.5 million to do that, and it's like, okay, well, those are numbers that are just unattainable for somebody. But to hear it from somebody who actually has to write these paychecks, it's you feel it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that's why I joked about when he talked about a motor lease being $100,000 a race, and people are like, "Get the F word out of here!" You don't. I'm like, no, seriously, it costs $100,000 to lease a motor for one race if you race for TRD. And Bob's like, "Yeah, that's exactly what it costs."
Yeah. And him going through all the things that he was naive about to start with, that was hilarious. And I mean, hilarious in maybe a tragic way or whatever you want to call it at this point, but where he was like, oh, shoot, I got to get like somebody to drive the trailer and somebody else to drive the coach, and I got to get somebody to do this. And then not just drive the trailer, but now I have to get somebody to get a commercial license to do that. So now I have to get somebody licensed. And that's going to take a week or whatever. Like it was.
Oh, and the state line permits.
Yeah,
you got to have a permit for every single state to truck. That's why you see all those stickers. I mean, that's why a rig looks like a NASCAR car, is because they have to have all those stickers to be able to go over the road.
Right. Here's another one with Harvick. 20 top 5 finishes. There were only 7 drivers that had 20 top 10 finishes, and he had that many top 5s. How crazy is that?
It's crazy, and I think it's very easy for me to say, and maybe laissez-faire in a way, because I'm not a Harvick fan, to kind of pass it off as, well, this is how the playoffs work. But this is how the playoffs work. We saw a #1 in the NCAA basketball tournament get knocked off for the first time 2 years ago.
Right.
That can happen. That's what makes it exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's, Yeah, you said it with the playoff stuff. I mean, that we are Atlanta sports fans. We know all about playoff expectations. So, yeah, not a whole lot to say there. How about this one? Well, I already said it. Harvick was the only driver who was running at the finish of every race. How about this one? 15 drivers led over 100 laps in 2020. 14 of those made the playoffs. And then, as a sidebar to that, Cole Custer led 5 laps all season and ended up being in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what that proves over time is the consistency. And you talked about that when we talked about Christopher Bell and why does it matter that you finished 2 positions ahead of where you did last year versus not having the top 5s or the top 10s that matched what DiBenedetto did the year before. And how do you measure those things? How do you weight those? I mean, there's people like David Smith that have all kinds of analytics can figure out how to weight that better than we can just talking about it on the radio. But, I mean, those things do matter because it matters from a money perspective. Finishing 20th is a bigger check than finishing 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
And so whether or not it's because somebody retired or somebody dropped out, or, I mean, think about Kenseth from this perspective. That 42 car was supposed to do way better than finish. What he finished 23rd, 24th in points. I mean, that was supposed to have been a car that was supposed to be competing for playoffs.
Yeah. Well, that's what we talked about with Bob. And that was the thing that blew my mind the most. That Bob had the best season that he's ever had, and still not able to do something with that going into next year, and that's tragic to me. You know what I mean? Like, this is the Cinderella story. This is the one where, hey, rags to riches. I mean, he already came in with money, but the I don't know anything about what I'm doing up to. You know, we even talked about him. At what point did you have did you walk in and you have a little bit of swagger? Like, hey guys, I do know what I'm doing now. But going from that to like we said, I think it was 20.9 was Christopher Bell's finish, and I mean that was better than any other year by a bunch, and you know, still not able to make it past this season. But everything that he said was like, yep, that makes sense. Yep, that makes sense. It's a weird deal.
Well, it checks out. I think the coolest thing to me about what we heard from Bob, and we didn't really get into this last week, was that they had already started to work on building their own stuff. And that was their whole plan was, I don't want to lease a car from JGR. I don't want to lease a chassis and then give it back.
Yep.
You know, I want to build my stuff. And, you know, if whatever the relationship is in terms of sharing technology, cool. If there's a package for that makes sense monetarily, we might do that because, you know, we don't have all the knowledge. But, you know, that to me was the most interesting thing, was him preparing himself to be a standalone team.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously, you know, what happened, but that was his approach. You know, like, golly, that's very admirable that you're like, I think we're good enough that we're just going to start building our own stuff.
That's a story that I totally lament does not get to play out next year, because that's neat. You know, that's something that not a whole lot of people get to do, and Bob's such a great guy. So anyway, with that, Sherwin, last week I had put here that newly retired Jimmy Johnson in his first week off plays Pebble Beach and tests IndyCar at Laguna Seca. That's a hell of a retirement. I was going to posit to Bob. So what are you doing in your retirement?
Well, yeah. Have you ever wanted to punch a man in the face as much as you wanted to drink a beer with him? You got to play Pebble Beach and run laps in an open wheel car at Laguna Seca. Like, I don't even want to. Okay, let's just have the beer. We'll skip the punching in the facey. You race the car. I'll just be over here with the beer when you get back.
I'm not sure that I expected anything less of Jimmy Johnson in this whole thing, but like, he's not going into IndyCar just to run some pace laps and sign some stuff and get a paycheck. This fellow wants to like win. He not place well. He wants to win, and that's getting me excited to the point that I don't know how many other people are like this, but I'm going to be watching a lot more Indy next year, so good on him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing that's sort of missed on this is, in a lot of ways, maybe not all the ways, but Jimmy Johnson doesn't need the monies at
Right.
all.
Right.
He needs the competition.
Yeah.
And he also is a great friend of the racing community, having driven all those different divisions as he grew up before he became a cup star. Like, he wants to support Indy. He's got friends over there.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably going to do very well. And people shouldn't be surprised if he does.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because he's got the stick to itiveness, and he wants to compete. And it's not, he's like, you know what? I just want to, I want to race like 11 races a year, and then I'm with the kids. The girls are what, like 11 and 9 or 10 and 8 or whatever they are. Like, they're at the age now. It's time to play softball or basketball or whatever they're playing, or get them in a go kart, whatever it is they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I'm 44, 45 years old. It's time to just go on and be a dad. But guess what? Dad's also real good at stuff.
As it turns out. Yeah. Yeah. So last week we talked a little bit with Bob about the 2022 next gen car, and they're getting more laps down with this car. Truex and Kurt, two of the main ones there. Where I think this week, what was it? Truex's crew chief says that it's an interesting beast. So that's. It's interesting to hear more and more like little tidbits that we get out about this car.
Yeah, it certainly is. I watched, what was available for us to see video wise, and I was like, okay, all right. I see what the car is and what it's not. I see what it's doing and what it's not. And obviously, they didn't have the full setup at the Roval, so the car raced a little bit different. So when you see that, they were 3 seconds faster, and it's like, yeah, well, they didn't have the chicane on the backstretch, so that probably mattered. There's a couple other things that mattered, but in my mind, I was hoping, well, I hope at least a second and a half that they gained was because they used a softer tire.
Mm-hmm.
and made things more interesting from that perspective. And I hope we get to talk about that next week. Well, I'll bring that up later when we talk about who we're going to have. But we're not done with this conversation yet. Because
Right. It'll keep going. Well, Sherwin, I'll close it out with this. It's Thanksgiving. Haley Deegan has delivered 1.5 tons of turkeys in an F-150 as its max payload rating. So good on her, and hey, good on Ford. I think my truck. So I drive a 2003, which, I mean, back when we started watching NASCAR and stuff, like, hey, this is the newest and latest and greatest. It's amazing to me how far things have come. 3,300-pound payload in the bed. I think my truck rates in at like 1,500 pounds. And I mean, this is a stock F-150 single cab that she's delivering that in. So good on her, good on Ford, and good on dadgummit. I at some point I'm gonna need to go truck shopping, but I kind of like still driving the old one.
yeah, I hear you, man. That's the first thing I thought of too when I saw that picture. I was like, huh. That truck looked a little squatty. You sure you didn't overload it? Why'd you pick an F-150?
Yeah.
Like, you about 2,000 pounds off from what the payload of that thing's supposed to be. So if they built the suspension correctly, good on them.
Yeah, right. My grandfather used to work at a Chevy dealership, and he told me a story about this guy that kept bringing his truck in because it went through the transmission. And he kept going through transmissions for whatever reason, and they were all under warranty or whatever. And so he finally asked the guy, like, "What are you doing with this thing?" And the guy's like, "I ain't doing all that much. I mean, I've got this trailer that I tow. Turns out the trailer weighed like 20,000 pounds or something outrageous." And they were like, "Okay, well, this is the last transmission you get, buddy."
Yeah, he's only like 12,000 pounds over the limit.
Right. So, yeah. Anyway, well, Sherwin, it's about time to close this thing down. Why don't you tell the folks where they can find us, what's coming up next, and wishing everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
All right. Well, happy Thanksgiving first and foremost. Everybody be really safe. The roads are going to be filled with people and potentially dangerous. So keep your eyes and ears and lights on. You can find us at PETM Podcast on the Twitter and on the Instagram. You can find me at Pregame Engineer on the on the Twitter. Sorry, at Andrew L. Sherwin on Instagram, and I'll let Rusty finish it on that.
Yeah, y'all know where you can find us. PTMPodcast.com at PTM Podcast, like Sherwin said. On the Twitter, as always, I'm Rusty Wallace at Tailgate Mayor, and we can't wait to see y'all next week. Hey, have a great Thanksgiving, and stay safe with that deal. Y'all be good. See you next time. There it is. That's a wrap, sir.
All right, so bonus for the YouTubers. Next week is Kate Ertman back for the second time to get her master's degree. We're going to talk about fuel mileage because that's what she wanted to talk to us about.
She wanted to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. I'm excited.
Right. We're going to dive deep into that. And then the week after that, we are going to have Haley Moody. And I'm going to ask you to do your own research on why that last name sounds familiar.
I don't think you have to do a whole lot of research.
You don't. It's just pretty easy.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Let me get this thing saved down, make sure the old computer does all the connecting on all the things that it needs to do. 269.
Satellites leaking up from outer space. Bridge, Texas.
French, Texas. Sir. Let's see.
Shorthand.
Shorthand. There we go. Getting that thing saved down. There it is. And I can close that out. Make the computer a little happier about things. The state of life. Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Could you tee off at one of those oceanside holes at Pebble Beach and not just hit one into the ocean?
Oh, you got to.
I don't know that I could not do that.
You got to. Ain't no doubt.
Mean, even if it was like a $10 golf ball, I'd be like, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, right.
Bam!
There's got to be a daggum, just, I don't know. There's got to be scuba divers go down there every day for folks like me and you that are going.
Oh, without a doubt. Oh, no, they're waiting on the beach. I guarantee it. The only time they get shooed away is when there's like a professional golf tournament.
Oh, man. Oops. Oh, I'm clicking all over the place.
Hell, David got shooed away from a green at Cuscawilla over at Lake Oconee because he was scuba diving for golf balls in the damn lake. A lake that's like 10 feet deep at its deepest.
Oh, man.
I didn't know that you could wash golf balls in a washing machine until I saw it happen. Enough bleach.
Yeah, there's some holes that you walk up on that you're like, all right, well, if I'm a golf ball hunter, this place, this is the spot right here.
So I've been looking at golf clubs now that you brought that up, or I did. One of us did. And nobody sells a set of irons north of a 5-iron. And I'm like, who the hell doesn't hit a 4-iron?
Right? That's my bread and butter. That's like the secret
I can
weapon.
hit a 3-iron off the turf.
Yeah.
I'm like, why ain't got a 2-iron in this thing? Because I'd like to hit that thing.
Yeah, because the 5 is like the 175 range for me. And so if I'm trying to just give it all I got, but I need some accuracy, that's a 4-iron. Now 3-iron, I've been playing golf for 30 years and I ain't got that figured out yet. So I ain't gonna blame nobody for not pulling out a 3, but a 4 is, that's needed. That's part of the arsenal.
Got to have a 4.
Well, what else do they have? What do they miss, or what did they add? They adding like lob wedges?
I guess they add like a 1, 3, 4, and 5 wood to it, which like doubles the cost of the golf set.
Oh, so this is that's where they get you.
Yeah, I think that's what's happening there.
Mm-hmm. I said that this was like almost 2 years ago now. No, not almost 2 years, maybe a year and a half ago. That as soon as I got my next job, I was going to go get myself fitted for some clubs, and I ain't done that yet, and I just need to go do it, and just have something that, because I keep having hand-me-downs, and I know that with my body type and all that, there's some things that are a little custom needed, if you will. I've got really long legs, and I've got arms of like a 5'6" person, and I'm 6'2". So
Right, we're the exact opposite.
yeah, you got the monkey arms and the stubby legs.
Got 6'4" wingspan,
Yeah,
and I'm 5'11".
yeah. So I know that what I have is not what I need, and what I need to do is go make it right. But yeah,
Well, I want to do that too. I just, you know what? I'm still hung up on. I want one of those late '80s, early '90s set of pings because
mm-hmm.
I hit those clubs so well. Because I've played with them before, and it's like I just smack. I can draw all the way up to a sixth iron
Well,
with those clubs.
I went. Let me think, because I went and it was in. I want to say it was in Hawaii when I played with my dad, and we rented clubs, and they asked me what I wanted. And this is one of them fancy places that we didn't deserve to be on, but Dad has hookups all over the freaking country, and he got us on this course. And they're like, okay, well, what? Here's the different types of clubs we had. I'm like, I guess I'll take Callaway's. And they were like, okay, do you want steel shaft or flex shaft? And I'm like, give me the steels. And dude, every shot was 10 yards more, 15 yards more than what I'm used to. I'm like, all right, well, this is a new calibration here, and Rusty needs to go get him some clubs, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just not ready to spend $1,000.
That's yeah,
That's,
it's one of them things.
I want to play more. I want to have at least a line of sight to playing more before I spend $1,000.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point too. I ain't played in forever. I feel bad about it. I got to go hit the course.
I miss it. I miss it like hell. But like
Mm-hmm.
I mean, getting to play with you is going to be like maybe twice a year kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At this point, until I figure out where the hell it is real life is.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I got to figure out some NASCAR people to go play golf with and let them make fun of me.
There you go.
You suck at this. I'm like, yeah, I work and stuff.
Well, I went and picked up that other expensive hobby with flying, and now it's like, all right, well, where do I want to put money? And I think, well, a new set of golf clubs, $1,000. Well, shoot, I could fly for like 10 hours on that. So, when you're thinking about where to put money, whatever.
I understand.
Take it with you when you go.
I totally understand.
Yeah. Hmm.
I do want to play more golf, though.
You working tomorrow? I can't remember.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, I gotcha. I think I said it even on the show, but I'm not officially working, but I will be working. Part of the reason of me
I'm officially going in. I've already deferred arrival to Fayetteville till Thursday, so I'm not driving home tomorrow.
No, that makes sense. No, I'm that was part of my like early departure today. I'm like, well, I got tomorrow off, but I'm going to be doing work anyway, so I ain't worried about this little mulligan since we're in the golf realm.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've got Microsoft Teams on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
It buzzes me every time anything happens.
Yeah.
Like I'm paying attention.
Yeah.
I know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
I don't have my email on my phone because they don't pay for my phone. I have Teams on it because it's a convenience for me that if I'm late for a meeting or if I need to be in the car away from the plant, I can still call in to the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those digital age things.
Digital. Oh, we're almost there. 99%. Upload that thing. Get it done.
Go on and get your money and run.
All right. Publish. Published. Sweet. All right. Now if I take this and copy and then paste it into here and then paste and then do that and then publish on the website. Cool. That's there. Now let's ping this. Success, and then refresh, and we should see new episode. Oh, we're going to need a little edit here. Let's see.
Anybody still hanging on? Yeah, we do. We have 7 people. All right, Mick. Appreciate it, brother. Good luck to your wife and your daughter on the new job search and stuff. Look up the course, Ballyhack in Roanoke, Virginia. That's Matt DiBenedetto fan. Roanoke, Virginia. All right, I'll look it up. I think it's probably a good piece for me.
There we go.
Virginia is, kind of.
That should have us on iTunes at this point.
Roger is arthritis out of golf. Oh, that sucks ass.
That's a bummer.
Hey, Roger, CBD, baby. You live in New York. You don't even have to do, like, the cleansed CBD. You can do the real stuff. Trust me, that makes golf way more fun.
I'm feeling pretty stretched out right now. How about y'all?
Yeah, I'm really loomed up. Shoulders are feeling good. Back doesn't even know it's there.
Yeah, what back? Oh, man. All right, let's see here. Latest. Today is the 24th of November. And if I pull in this stuff, blah, blah, blah. Just doing all that IT mess to get this thing up on all the right places. And let's see. Backspace out of that. Space good. And then get the embeddable piece. Put that there. Paste. And update. And that means it's on the website. And last thing to do is put it on the Twitter.
Party dance.
Share that. Copy.
Twitter.
And tweet. Boom. There's that. And then copy paste in our old friend that. And boom. That is tweeted out. Perfect. Let's view the tweet. And then pin it to the page. Boom. We are up in all the places. Homepage, iTunes, Google, whatever, and all that stuff. So, all right. Let's shut this thing down. Sherwin, it's been good talking to everybody. Had fun. Y'all have a awesome freaking Thanksgiving.
Yes, sir. You too, man. It's going to be, well, it'll be what it is.
Yep.